What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fandom Empire YouTube channel. It is Monday, June the 8th, 9:19 p.m. Eastern Time here, a few hours outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And joining me, as always, is our partners in crime, my fellow inmates, the fellas that I intend to be playing this game with that is advertised on the screen. We have a loaded show for you tonight. We are talking the Halloween game. We're going to take a look at the single player trailer. We're going to take a look at the Haddonfield, I believe it's called Town Center map. And then we're going to get into some rumors about the Halloween game and what could be a DLC map and why it may not be available off the get-go. And I understand just starting with that is probably not going to impress some people, but in a game like this, you need some DLC content down the road. And I would suggest that the map in question provides variety that you will not see in the maps that the game launches with. So we will get into that. What the production timeline could be for the Halloween 50th anniversary movie. I see a lot of headlines and clickbaity things about how they're going to fast track the movie. The movie's going to be fast tracked. Well, we're going to talk about why that's not necessarily the case, and yet the movie is still likely to happen as long as everybody gets their ducks in a row. We got some Star Wars tonight. Maybe I got the title of this wrong. Is it? I don't know. Company Zero?
Yep.
No, that's wrong.
Zero Company.
Zero Company. So we're talking about that game. And then we got an update, a rather curious update on Star Wars Eclipse that's both positive and negative at the same time, especially if anybody remembers the story behind the Star Wars video game that was not to be Star Wars 1313. So we will dive into that a little later tonight. Going to talk a little bit about the He-Man thing too, if we get time. And then just they had the Future Game Show over the weekend. Xbox did their showcase. We'll all take a little bit of time and talk about what we've seen there. And for those of you that have tuned into some of our shows before, well, we'll be talking some Gears of War at the end of the show. So not only that, though, we're going to let everybody bring their own gaming topic to the table. And I really hope it's not Grand Theft Auto because that's low-hanging fruit. But let's get into this. First up, the Grand Moff himself, Randy. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just hanging in there. Been one of them days, but that's every Monday, isn't it? When you really think about it. Other than that, kind of recovering. It's semi-recovering from going to AEW Dynamite last week. The seats weren't exactly the most comfortable, but what did you expect? Sitting on basically benches because it was at VCU's, the Siegler Center, which is the home of the VCU Rams. So it's, but show was great. A lot of fun. I recommend if you have a chance to go, you should go just because it's a great experience. They really try to make everybody feel welcome. The crowd's even chanting for the head of the ring crew, chants for him and things like that. He got up and they took pictures with him, stuff like, they just tried to make sure it was a overall fun family event. And obviously the action was great. So, but how are things going with you?
I won't lie, I'm a little under the weather today. It sucks. There's some sort of stomach bug going around. It's making for an uncomfortable time, but it felt like way too big of a show to be taking a night off. It just might mean I might disappear at times. And, well, there's 4 of us tonight, so we should be able to carry the load if I have to vanish for 5 or 10 minutes. Also joining us, hopefully he's not experiencing the same thing I am. It's Johnny V. What's going on, man?
Oh, not a whole lot of anything. No, I'm not experiencing the same thing you are. Thankfully, let's keep it that way. Um, no, it's it's a good Monday night. I got Game 3 of the NBA final up in the split screen. Oh, yeah, it's a good night.
Yes, Danhausen working his magic. Um,
He needs to stop that magic, okay?
what a funny coincidence all that has been. And also joining us, taking a break from daddy duty, back again, back into the fire with us again. And actually, unless something changes here over the course of the next couple weeks, this man and I talked a little bit this morning, I believe it was, about what his plans were for our House of the Dragon season 3 content. And despite him not having seen the first two seasons, he's going to make an effort in getting caught up and joining us for that. And welcome a returning Dustin. What's going on, Daddy?
Hey guys, good to be here. Yeah, it's been a good Monday. I do have all of the episodes ready to go, so I'm going to start trying to knock them out when I have a chance, as little time that is. But I'm excited to get caught up with the two seasons and then be able to watch the premiere of three and talk that. It's been a pretty busy couple days with a lot of the gaming events going on, a lot of releases, a lot of good stuff being shown. I'm excited to talk Halloween. There was a lot of stuff that we were all talking about in the chat, which was pretty exciting. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into tonight. And I'll say this in terms of your endeavor here in the House of the Dragon, and this is just my opinion. Season 1, in my opinion, is amazing because of the way it's put together and how many years it spans across one season. Season 2, I think, is okay to goodish, somewhere in between there, which is obviously not bad. But when season 1 is amazing, it's a dip for sure. So take with that, take of that what you will. Bunch of great acting performances. Matt Smith is fantastic in it. And speaking of House of the Dragon, here is how our upcoming slate of content is going to work. Now, there are 8 episodes in House of the Dragon season 3. All right, so we have one more Monday show before that starts. But our House of the Dragon content will not be the entirety of our episodes. So there's a chance to possibly get Johnny in here at the tail end of these episodes. But for a 8 to 9 week stretch, we will be doing about 75, 80 minutes exclusively House of the Dragon with the same formula we used for our season 2 coverage. I believe Randy participated in some of that. Essentially, we go in there and we do a review from Team Green perspective and a review from Team Black perspective. We talk about which team had the better quality episode, give our favorite characters, our favorite scene, and some rank the episode rate the episode out of 10. And, we'll dive into some of the scenes, of course, but it's a pretty straightforward review that we do, only broken up into teams. And then we will dive into whatever there is to talk about, Halloween, Star Wars, etc., on the tail end of those episodes. And it begins next week where it won't be 75 or 80 minutes, but we will have probably a 20 to 30 minute preview of House of the Dragon season 3. And just like when the episodes are over, the week after they're over, we'll probably do an all-encompassing House of the Dragon season 3, 30-minute look back. So for 10 weeks, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones as a franchise will be at the forefront here. No, I mean, I wouldn't say we got that extensive when we did our Night of the Seven Kingdoms coverage, which is fine. But it's taken up a good chunk of our year here, Westeros. So looking forward to that. I know Randy's going to be a part of the coverage. I believe Zach's going to be here for 6 of the 8 weeks. Jade might pop in. I know Ryan is back for the coverage. Dustin's here. I know Tommy B wants to be a part of the coverage, but he's got a newborn who I believe is only 4 weeks old. So we'll see if he's able to sneak in an episode here or there. And I don't suspect Johnny will catch up in time, but Johnny will be around for whatever other coverage we have on select episodes of Star Wars, Halloween, etc. So that gives you an idea of what's ahead. Let's dive into what we have going on tonight. And it starts with the Halloween 50th anniversary movie, which if you're on Facebook or X and you follow anything Halloween related, it's been a popular topic over the course of the last couple of weeks. But I want to just dive in a little bit to what I think a production timeline can look like for this movie. Because I'm seeing, doomsday posts essentially that, oh, it's going to be fast tracked and it's going to be rushed and yada, yada, yada. And it just makes me wonder how much people have actually done research on how long it takes or doesn't take to make a Halloween movie. I think for the most part, Halloween 2018 was very well received. It's certainly successful. It's the most successful film in the history of the franchise, critically and financially. And that movie, to give you an idea, was filming in January of 2018 and released at the Toronto International Film Festival in September of 2018. So, and I want to say the writing process began about a year before that. So you're looking at like spring 2017. I remember, I'll go to Dustin on this one. He's probably followed this a little closer than you two. But do you remember when they made the announcement, Blumhouse was doing the film, not all the details were out, but one of the things that came out at a very early convention somewhere was this generic Halloween, I'll call it a billboard because it wasn't a poster, but it had the classic Halloween font across the top, and all you seen was a hand and a knife coming down. Do you remember that at all, Dustin?
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things they put out at one of the cons I think that was done first, and then they released like one of the first images of Michael with the mask.
Yeah, the mask came considerably later than that, actually.
Okay.
They released costume testing shortly after that, which had like your generic looking 78 mask and James Jude Courtney in it. And but my point is, when they did the billboard there, they were doing that really just as writing was starting. With that an idea, they almost always do what the film's going to look like with a story treatment. But like even that was about somewhere in the range of 16 months before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Well, if we assume that they aren't going to release this movie until October of 2028, which I think is likely, and that's if it releases. Like, you still got to write the thing, hire creatives, fill your departments, and then successfully film the thing and get it out. A lot can go wrong between now and then. And if you've ever read Taking Shape 2, they made not one, but two very deep attempts at Halloween 25 to follow up Halloween H2O, and it never happened.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're, wanting to avoid that, but we are only in June of 2026. And I know some people might be like, what do you mean only? Well, only means, and if I'm doing my math right, and I may not be, we're really early days in June. So I'm counting June as a month. June, July, August, September, October. That's 29 months between now and the Halloween 2028 or October 2028. That is 13 extra months than what they had for Halloween 2018. So the
Yeah,
idea that this is a rush job is nonsense. Now, it could become one for sure, but where it sits right now, they have plenty of time.
yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of getting that because there's been so many false starts in the past where movies were going to happen and there was projects that were lined up, and they know that okay, it doesn't take much to fall apart, and then all of a sudden you're behind the eight ball. But I think right now there's plenty of time. Maybe they are kickstarting like, hey, we are actively looking for anything as far as writers, pitches, like that part of the machine needs to gear up. But I do not see them needing to rush to start like production anytime in the next few, anytime soon. I'd rather them figure out, okay, who are we gonna have direct this? Who are we going to have star in this? What is the premise going to be? What are the scripts? What are those points, before they start getting into some of that other stuff? I mean, obviously they have to talk budget, they have to figure out that stuff, but there's no need to rush into getting anything into production right now, because if anything, we've seen that when they start doing that, the product will speak for itself. So I think them figuring out first, what are we going to do? Who's going to direct? Who's going to star? What is our plan? And then start putting stuff together, to go into production the end of this year into early next year, and still have plenty of time to do a whole list of things that they need to do. But I think it's too early to start. People, they're excited, but it's too early to start saying that they're rushing to get something out right now.
Yeah, they're not at the rush stage at all, in my opinion. They got tons of time. And the fact that they are pivoting from the TV show to the movie to provide focus on the movie suggests they want to spend ample time on the movie, to get it right. Like, I still think best case scenario, this movie is going to do at most half of what 2018 did financially. Um, our good buddy Flix, longtime supporter of the channel, says, "Hey all, it's been a while. I think the big question that needs to be answered, and maybe it has, is will they be able to involve Carpenter in more than the music? I would not be
Hope not.
shocked if Carpenter is basically a name only, an executive producer, for the right price. But I'll be honest, all I want him involved with is the music. He does not need to help write. He does not need, like, he's not in a place where you want him directing.
Yeah,
I think that
it
would
would
be
be
the
a name
wrong.
attached to, to good graces, to be like, oh, John Carpenter is involved in some capacity, but that's, like Steven Spielberg on some movies where it's like, oh, he executive produced, well, he like signed off on a few pictures and that's it, and then was like just amount. It's a name to attach to it that people make people feel good, but the music with him and Kenny Davies, or and his son or his godson or whatever, I think that's where they need to keep him at, and
the
keep him involved.
the scores for the Blumhouse trilogy are some of the best Halloween has ever had. So if you can get them back in that way, I think that would be great. But I also think you don't want to just be a carbon copy of those three movies. You'd want them to do something different than what they did in those three movies. By the way, big shout out to Flix. This dude has one of the best man caves I've ever seen in my life. He shared pictures with Dean and I way back in the day, and just absolutely incredible. I will forever be jealous of it. And Jake says, "Yeehaw!" I second that. Randy, I'll go to you, man. 29 months out from what would probably be the release window for this movie. Do you think this is rushing? And do you, like, for you, what's your biggest concern here in the early stages?
So I would say my biggest concern is just a little bit of infighting in the sense of not being able to agree on uh, story direction, writers, like just having those types of typical issues that can happen where people just can't seem to get on the same page. But there's time for that. Like you said, it's a good time off. It's not like this is going to be a CG fest of a type of a movie. This is definitely going to be all practical effects for the most part, with some CG thrown in for certain things. And those types of things, don't need a huge turnaround time. So I feel like the best course of action is take your time, uh, get the people you want, get on the same page, and maybe that's what they're going to do. Now, I wouldn't call it fast tracking. Maybe that's just more. Maybe they're trying to fast track finding specific people they want to fill out, producer roles, writer roles, director, things like that. Maybe that's the idea that why they're saying there's rumors of fast tracking. Beyond that, I feel like with this type of time, you can really focus on creating something worthy of the 50th anniversary and putting your best foot forward for the fans, for the franchise. The sky's the limits, so to speak, as long as there's not a lot of infighting. The way I look at it, but that's half the problem. Sometimes you're always going to have people who have a difference of opinion or a different vision for what they're looking for, and that's really my major concern. Minor concern would be them just dragging their feet, and kind of the time just ticks away and we don't hear anything, we don't see anything developing. Beyond that, though, I'm pretty confident that with the amount of time they have, we should get something fairly decent. I mean, you're right. It's probably not going to make the same type of money that 2018 did, but it's the 50th, man. I mean, it should. I feel like it still should do pretty well with the amount of time they have. So here's hoping that we'll start hearing more information soon about just some of the beginning decisions that usually comes into creating a movie. Getting that lead writer, getting a story. So that we know that a story is well on the way, because to make I mean, we could always sit there and be like, yes, let's have a Halloween movie where it's just nothing but Michael Myers killing everybody. That's just the low hanging fruit. Let's step it up a little bit. That's kind of where I'm hoping they decide to go with this. Um, they got time, so right now it's definitely nothing to worry about. Um, I would be more concerned if it was only a year out and we're still not seeing any real progress. Then I'd really start to worry.
Um, I think you can bring, like, look, for the 50th, you want to have some people involved. For the love of God, sorry to piss people off. We've beat this one, for a while now. We do not need Jamie Lee Curtis to be a star of this film. God, no. Please, no. No, no, no. If you want to have her cameo in the film as, some waitress or reporter who's in one scene or whatever, fine. I'm reluctant to even have her as an executive producer because I'm not convinced she would put her name on it without having major creative involvement. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Where John Carpenter is just shut up and pay me. I think he's good for that. I think he's good to be involved with the music. Um, I think you can bring back some other people that appeared in the movie. PJ Souls has come back multiple times. One that I would pull, and again, there's a bunch of young and upcoming great cinematographers, but the one I would consider going back to, and he's no spring chicken, but is Dean Cundy, the cinematographer from Halloween '78. The best looking episodes of the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian season 3 are the ones where Dean Cundy is the cinematographer on them. So he still has it, or at least have him involved in some way. I think you can still hit your nostalgia without it being a carbon copy of the original. And one of the things I'm seeing out there, multiple reports from fan sites, is this will be a continuation from Halloween 1978 and or a direct sequel to 1978. And the simple truth is that information's not out there yet. It isn't. We've speculated on what it could be. Johnny, do you think it has to be a direct continuation from Halloween 78 or a direct sequel specifically? Or do you think our idea of, hey, you could do a fresh start with Michael Myers and all new characters?
I think it all comes down to the pitch and the project, right? Like, that's the most important thing. I don't need the sacred cow, as far as like canon goes. All I care about is Michael Myers, really, and that's it. How you get there, what you put around him is at the discretion of the people taking the pitches, right? Like, that's just what it comes down to. I don't care what the story is around him beyond it be good. That's all I care about. So I don't care what the story is as long as it's good and it includes Michael. I don't like, would I like them to find sort of a spot in canon wherever that is and continue a story from there? I mean, as long as it's good, sure. But you could pick that point up from anywhere. Whether that's a direct sequel to the original or pick up one of the sequels later, after 2, or if you want to, get back to like the Danielle Harris era after 5. Like we pitched last week, you could even pick up a Josh Barnett and carry on after H2O. Like, it's all about the story more so than the setting for me anyway, because you're already so far removed that unless you're going to continue a direct sequel from the 18 trilogy, then it doesn't really matter which one you pick.
Which we don't believe is on the table.
Exactly. So, like, I don't, it doesn't matter to me which point of the canon you pick to continue the story from, as long as the story around it is good, because we are so far removed from all of them. I mean, we're looking at age 50 here, and the most recent canon continuation point that we're discussing is from H2O. So, like, it's irrelevant to me where you pick it up from, because you're going to have to do maintenance either way in reintroducing the environment and the story from wherever you pick it up from. So to me, that's a unnecessary thing. It's all about the story wrapped around it, and as long as you present a good story, then I'm okay with anywhere. I think there are a lot of great options and a lot of great possibilities, and it all comes down to who's going to make the pitch. Now, are you going to end up with, like we did with 2018, with someone coming in with a pitch so good that just blows you away? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. That we end up with a situation like that, and at this point, all doors are open, because if you've been around long enough, that when H18 was announced, my response was, a comedy team is doing a Halloween movie? And we ended up with one of the best films in the saga. So, all doors are open for this one. Blow away the pitch and provide on that pitch. That's all I need to be successful. For the timeline, you got lots of time. You got an inordinate amount of time here. This is not
29 months.
And for a Halloween film, anyone who's using the phrase
turn around
fast track,
as I say, not ridiculous. Recently, but they've turned around Star Wars movies in the Disney era in that time.
Like, exactly. Like, this is a Halloween film. Like, if we were 12 months out, then yes, I'd say we're fast tracking, because you'd have to do the script, you'd have to film it, you'd have to edit it, and you'd have to do that all in a year. We have twice that and half a year. You got lots of. If you literally just spend the remainder of this year figuring out who's, like, taking pitch scripts and figuring out who's going to do it, and then spend the next year after that, or most of it, working out the script and doing your casting and things like that, you still have an entire year to film, edit, and release this thing. And for a Halloween movie, that's a lot of time, because Halloween is not unless they blow the doors off and do something ridiculously stupid, and I'm going to say it, and I do not in any way endorse this as a possible idea, unless they do something so ridiculous as to do like a Jason X Halloween movie.
Well, that's what you get with John Carpenter. It's the last thing he wanted to do.
You don't, Halloween doesn't require, a year in post-production. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I would say that, 80% of Halloween is practical on set.
Probably
So, like,
more than that.
I'm being generous in giving, the modernization of editing, giving it 20%. I'm being generous in that. But, like, we have 2.5 years. Fast track is not a usage case for this. Like, sure, this is fast tracked if you're Disney and this is a Marvel movie or one of your tentpole animated projects. Sure, 2.5 years is fast tracking that. This is not that. In
I'll go
any
one
stretch
step
of the
further.
imagination.
You're talking about time for pitches. If they've made the rumored decision here, which originated from Scream Horror Magazine, that they were, again, not canceling the Halloween TV series, as people have said. Now, in the long run, that's what it could end up being, but shelving the Halloween TV series in favor of the 50th anniversary movie, I'm here to suggest they've already received a pitch that they are interested in going forward with, or at least attempting to go forward with. I don't think you're making that decision without that pitch, or without an internal idea from Trancas and Miramax, and then taking pitches on that idea. I think one of those two things has happened. Can I say that for certain? Nope. I'm going to do some digging on it. I'm going to send some messages about it and see what we can find out. But I think that at least a portion of that has happened at this stage. But we'll see. And even if it hasn't happened at this stage, 29 months, people. 29 months. If you don't think people want to make Halloween movies still, they do. The other thing I'd say to look out for is Universal distributing it. Not a cheap thing to do, but they did 2018 Kills and Ends, and obviously they did Halloween 1978 as well back in the day. I think they did Halloween 2 as well, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I think they did, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, don't buy into a lot of the clickbait headlines like the TV series is definitively canceled and this is a direct sequel to 78. These are details that we just don't know yet. But I assure you, if they're doing a 50th anniversary Halloween movie, it is Michael Myers centric, and we'll go from there. I'd be very curious to see who's writing, who's directing. That's my next big thing. Is you don't even have to give me story details at this point, but I would very much like to know who ends up being the creative team. And if this thing is a go, my guess is that's the next thing you'll hear. And I wouldn't be shocked if you don't hear that even until next year, to be honest. But you could hear it as early as late October this year, early November. There's a lot riding on the game. Trancas invested a lot of their own money into this game. So seeing how the game does, how popular or not popular it is, could definitely affect this a little bit. But we'll see how that goes. Speaking of which...
Just before we move on, quick Google search said Halloween 2 was distributed by Universal.
Alrighty. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see them back. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. I'm going to attempt to play this video. It might blow up in my face. Hopefully it doesn't. But let's take a look at the story mode trailer for Halloween the game.
There's so much evil inside him.
Okay, back inside, everyone.
Let's go, Myers.
Fueled by his rage, I shudder to think what he might be capable of.
Since when do they let them wander around?
Myers is out. Secure the gate.
I knew what would come next. Every soul unfortunate enough to cross Michael's path would suffer. No one knew of the evil that was walking among them. Unreasoning, relentless, evil. But sometimes I think the truth was something much more terrible. I wonder if perhaps Michael is able to actually move through shadows.
All right, so let's go around the table here. Dustin, we haven't had you on very often the last little while. What were your thoughts on the story trailer for Halloween the game? Obviously, that's the first look we've gotten at it. We've discussed a lot of the details that were going to be there, and they seem to be backed up in this trailer. Just your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Where are you at with it?
I actually really liked it. I thought, one of the big questions was, what was the single player story going to be, and how are they going to, weave that into it? And I think going into almost, playing through the first movie, being able to see some more of the stuff that we didn't see, is a great idea. I think it was great. Like, you could definitely tell. It looked like they modeled it after a young Nick Castle, with the hair at least. I was actually really excited for it. I liked the fact that we were going to be able to go through and see some of the scenes. Like, Michael just doesn't escape, right? Like, we get to see some more of the stuff, fill it in, see where he gets when he breaks into the I think it was a hardware store where, even in Halloween 2018, they kind of covered that, where he had some knives and some rope and a mask, and kind of playing through that first game. There was a little bit of a thing. The Loomis voice is, I can take it or leave it. It's not like breaking to me. It was a little bit off. But I like that this sets it up, that they're kind of saying, like, okay, he moves in the shadows. Like, there's something else to him, kind of covering some of that otherworldly aspect to him. And I think it'll be fun to just play through the single player portion of the game. And it's going to act as kind of that tutorial for the multiplayer. So you can kind of learn how to use some of the abilities, and playing as Michael, how you can do it, and kind of just carving your own path, which will be kind of fun, that you can create. You can almost recreate the first movie, or potentially have a sandbox to kind of alter it a little bit and make your own kind of story. And so yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think they did a good job, and I think it's interesting to see. I was reading something, and this could just be a rumor, but there was some talks, just rumor talks, that the girl that plays Lori in Rob Zombie's Scout Taylor Compton, I think is her name, might be voicing Laurie Strode in the game. Now, that's not confirmed. That's just something I heard, and I thought they did a comparison to her voice, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But it looks like you'll be able to recreate some of the scenes that we love, and also dive into some of the stuff that we didn't see, like the rabbit in red and going to the hardware store. So that had me excited. I was very happy after seeing the single player trailer.
Randy, what about you?
I thought it was very well done. I enjoyed Just getting a brief glimpses of what we're going to be doing. I liked how uh, you could legit probably, I mean, just from based on what I'm seeing, it's almost like you could get a feel of like what might be going on in the movie while you're doing your thing. So there's just these little scenes that obviously they combine that are from the original movie, but also just the idea of being able to kind of be in the background and making different decisions on how you want to approach what you're doing. That's always something that's exciting. Just the idea of being able to play the villain. You don't get to do that, but so often in video games, especially one as iconic as Michael. So I definitely am curious about the finished product because obviously there could be tweaks and changes between now and then, which obviously I'm expecting. And honestly, I would like to see some of the gameplay just to kind of give you not like anything earth shattering, just more of maybe like a few minutes of saying, hey, this is the choices you can choose while playing Michael during the story, like that sort of thing. Nothing, but overall, I think they did a great job, and it just fueled the fire that I already had because I mean, from day one, we were all like, we're getting this. And I'm to the point now where I'm tempted to actually pre-order just because I'm just ready for it.
Johnny V, what about you?
I'm not surprised in any way by anything we saw. Just because it always seemed like the most obvious options of a single player story in this universe it's a story we're all familiar with, but it allows it to expand and extrapolate on things we didn't see, things we've never seen before, like his escape and things like that. There is one thing that I am concerned about coming out of all this. It is the use of the sentence that the single player is a tutorial for the multiplayer. That worries me. Because it makes the single player sound like an afterthought in a way that I don't like. Like, if you're going to do single player, I don't want to say it needs to be a focus, but it almost needs to be sort of a counterbalance to the multiplayer. Like, I understand that, the mechanics and structure are going to be the same. That's just inherent with a game, period. Like most games that include a multiplayer variant are no different than the single player itself. You have to be an anomaly for that or something external to it.
In fairness, I think they're saying it's a tutorial on how to be Michael Myers for the multiplayer. We're going to talk about that the rumored DLC thing here shortly, but I don't believe for a second that the single player has been an afterthought, which is why they've held off on really showing anything up until now. In fact, I think there's some examples that would suggest even just having a single player story mode is a step up on, correct me if I'm wrong here, Johnny, you've probably played more of these than I have at this point. Every single asymmetrical horror game that we've had to this point on console.
Anything that's ever done like a story has been sort of external to it. Dead by Daylight did their stories with some of the original characters from that, but it was external.
And Jason had like the single player where you just basically
there were challenges.
Like a bonus thing. Yeah.
There were challenges where you could earn some things here and there, nothing too crazy. Still fun though, and then you got to recreate some iconic scenes from the films, and I think that's really where a lot of the fun was with the challenges, even if there wasn't a story, which it does suck that there wasn't a story.
I guess this is the example I would give. Is we know there's multiple endings, and we know some of the choices that you make during your playthrough on the story are going to take things in different directions. So it's almost like you're directing your own version of Halloween 1978. And I really wanted to pick your brain on this one, Johnny, and everybody for that matter. We'll get you all three of you to chime in on this one. Start with Johnny and then go to Dustin and Randy. I thought the choice to focus the story trailer on what they had previously advertised and really sold people on the single player mode with is, hey, the garage and the rabbit in red and the tow truck driver and the hardware store where he gets the mask from, all these events that you don't see in the original movie, but you just see the aftermath of. Or breaking out of Smith Grove. Let's focus the story trailer on all that, which is exactly what happened. I'm not saying you don't get any of the H1 in there. Obviously, we see Laurie, which is not a Jamie Lee Curtis character, or like model rather. But other than that, like it's all the new stuff that they've been like, hey, here's the stuff you didn't see in Halloween 1978. And I thought it was clever of them to focus a relative, 70 seconds long? Relatively short trailer this close to the release of the game on the stuff that they sold the single player mode on. Go ahead, Johnny.
I mean, it's not surprising to me, really. I think you do have sort of, I don't want to say a finite number of things you can do, but it's the single player is and again, this is just me, it's more of an also, an additional thing. Like there aren't going to be a lot of people who are buying this game exclusively for single player. I just don't believe that to be the case. But I think they're doing a good job of, presenting the story in a way that will play nice, because you're right. It is sort of putting the focus on a lot of those questions we all sort of had coming out of the first film, right? Like the things that happened before, the hows, the whys, the what happens, that we'll get a chance to play those out and answer those questions, which I'm happy about. As a, someone who's going to be playing this game, I like the idea of it. Like I said, I'm not buying this game for the single player. I'm not. But having it is better than not having it. And I like that idea that the story they're telling is that, like, we're going to end up getting the destination is kind of the same, right? Like we know where we're going to end up, but the way we get there might be different and unique. And, I'm excited for that. I'm hoping that, like I said, I pulled out that sentence in that last little part there that, is just hopefully I don't want to say a gross exaggeration, but I don't want to say like a misquote or anything like that, because it's not, but like a misdefinition, I guess. Like I want some length out of this, from a story, from a single player game. I'm not expecting anything big, but like I think a while back we were, we were reporting 10 hours.
No, God, no, not with this one.
I would think it would be a
the
lot
total
less.
wrapped up with everything.
I think that was our hope. No, I think the single player mode you're looking at 2 to 4 is my guess, but with replay value, because you'll be able to go
I'm adding
back.
that. I'm adding, like, we talked about 3 possibilities. That's about 10 hours.
So I was gonna say if you're doing the different endings and the different paths,
that's where I'm wrapping.
Then you're probably above 10 hours. Yeah,
I'm all.
But that's multiple playthroughs.
So like I like that idea, for something that is a tack on. That's not the focus. I just don't want it to be, that. Like, I want the parts to be more about, okay, and in this part we'll focus on this particular skill, you know, and sort of turn it into a super long tutorial, because I don't want that. So like I do want it to be, all encompassing of the different abilities and techniques and playing it through. And yes, you have your destination, but the how you get there are different, and having limited branching possibilities is also a fun possibility for this. So I mean, it's execution. We see enough here that I'm excited for it. It shows enough to excite me for it. And again, that one sentence is the only thing. If that sentence didn't exist, I have a much rosier outlook on this. And I'm hopeful it's just one of those, one sentences that you say that you were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have said that, but we said it, so now it's out there kind of sentences,
What about you, Dustin?
I think them adding this, I mean, it's clear. I mean, they're making this because they're hardcore fans of Halloween. And we haven't gotten a game like this for the Halloween franchise. So I think it was a low-hanging fruit. They could be like, hey, we could just kind of play through the first movie and have moments from that we didn't see. And I think it was strategic in the fact that they showed, like you said, what they showed with the rabbit in red and the garage, and being able to kind of, because as fans of the movie, we have always had those questions. Well, how did he get here? Where did he get the mask? We never saw him get the mask in the first movie. And I think it's real easy to be like, okay, we're going to create these sandboxes and tell the story of how he gets, to Haddonfield. And like where you saw the Strode sign, I think the environmental storytelling is going to be big, because there's going to be little things that you're going to see that, being fans of the movie, you're going to get a little bit more out of, that you're going to see something and say, oh yeah, that's cool. That's it, to immerse yourself in a movie that you love and be able to spend time in a sandbox or a group of sandboxes, depending on how large each area is, to explore for that section that leads up to the events of the first movie. And like you said, directing your own kind of Halloween movie, where it's, kind of a director's cut, where you can say, okay, I'm going to go do this and just kind of carve my way through the town of Haddonfield. And it may like lean you into certain areas where it's like, okay, we have to funnel you into this area to hit this story beat. And then you get to play that out, and they get to recreate it in game form. I think it was very intentional what they were doing. I just hope the environmental storytelling is there, where you get to see some stuff and flesh out what you've already seen from the movie. And I think that's a good thing. And like Johnny said, I'm hoping that's not going to be like, okay, this is where you're going to learn this ability and it's made for that. It's more of, this is how you can move through the areas as Michael, and these are the abilities that you have, and then really just letting you run with it. But I'm excited for the single player, because I love that movie. So it's going to be like a super deep dive into everything that we didn't see, that we may have had questions on. So, and that will lead into, being able to play the multiplayer and have, more interactions with people and do different stuff. And, but for me, it had me excited just from that fact of being able to create my own story and do things, as long as it's not just tacked on. And it seems like they are taking some time to give us some set pieces or sandboxes to explore, where you can take your time and really just kind of be that character.
The one thing they've iterated on multiple occasions now is, if you buy this game and you jump into the multiplayer maps, which we'll get to here shortly. And you just start playing as like Michael Myers, you are not going to be as effective as Michael Myers as the people that play the single player mode because of all the different various things the single player mode makes you do as Michael. Also, I'm pretty sure the shot here is he's still maskless at this point. I'm pretty sure that's his normal hair.
Yeah.
I think we go from hospital gown to coveralls to full getup, which is cool. Randy, your thoughts on the single player stuff?
Well, I mean, I'll add from a little earlier is I do like what we're seeing, at least from the small sample size we've gotten in terms of like the map and the layout and the use of shadows and lighting and things like that. I have really think they did a good job of playing on that. I do like you're pointing out. I do like that we're getting to see kind of that transformation from mental patient to finally the iconic killer we all know, and I think that's kind of where things are going to end with the single player story, which is cool. And I also like the idea though that we're going to get to find different ways of getting to that point. And that is definitely going to be worth the replay value for sure. So I'm really hoping that rather than kind of make it super easy, I would love that each path that they give us, depending on how many they give us, really will represent, maybe there's an easy path, maybe there's a medium path, maybe there's a hard path, or just, I hope that's what we get. We kind of increase the difficulty of completing the mission just so you can truly get a feel for your abilities and kind of practice them really and that's, if that's really what the single player mode's for, that's cool. I just hope that in the end it still feels like a story rather than basically here's Michael, here's what you can do with Michael, and here's all the cool things he can do. That's kind of like my only concern, just because I'm not really familiar with IllFonic and any type of storytelling they've done in previous games. So, but it's a wait and see proposition, and we've only got a few months to go, so it'll be here before we know it.
It's important to remember that Loomis is the one narrating the story. So there'll probably be a lot of, intros into each part as you go there. Like, it's important to remember this is an open world game. So, but I also wanted to point out what Dustin said earlier about the Loomis voice. Believe it or not, the guy doing the voice is actually the same guy that did the voice for Halloween 2018. So, and Halloween Kills for that matter. So, same dude. He's back. Maybe just didn't hit the notes like he did in the movies. Hang on here. There was something else I wanted to bring up here. Well, we won't spend too much time on this. The pricing for the game in the US is $39 for standard, $59 for deluxe, and I believe it's $59 for standard and $79 for deluxe in Canada. I don't know if there's going to be any physical forms of this game. Answer me this, Johnny, because you used to be a special edition buff. I've been in enough midnight release lines with you to watch all the special editions you purchased in the past, and I got a few myself. How late can you announce one of those? Because I can tell you there were rumors of them doing a physical special edition, but haven't heard anything on that in months.
I would say I think we're reaching the point where if we don't get one, I'd say in the next month, we're not getting one.
So like end of July would be as
I think
late as
like beginning of August is the cutoff, because you need time for stores to, order, procure, get them in, ship them out. So it has to already be in production, and we just haven't had it announced yet. That being said, I don't think this is going to get one. More and more things are moving away from physical releases, and the market for the deluxe edition isn't what it used to be. Like, even if we look forward a little bit, the week after this, Wolverine's not getting one, and that's something that everyone kind of expected. Especially off the fact that both Spider-Man games had special edition physical releases with the full statue, with a full statue. So I don't think there's any chance of this. You might get something if the game is kind of a runaway success. You might get something after the fact, a little closer to like the Christmas market release, so that people have a chance to get it for the holidays. But yeah, I think September 8th. I don't expect there to be a physical release at all.
Yeah, I agree with Johnny. I don't think there will be a physical release of it. If it does, it's going to be a very
Google
minimal...
search says there's going to be a physical release, but I can't imagine that's going to be widespread. It's very simple. Like, I'm buying it digitally.
I don't expect. I'll say this: if there is a physical release, it's a physical code release. It's not a physical disc or
Gotcha.
cartridge or anything like that. It's a box with a code in it that you redeem for the download.
Yeah, the only way I'd buy a physical, I just really don't buy physical games anymore. I haven't for a long time. The only way I'd buy a physical release of this game is if there was a knockout special edition version of it, right? And otherwise, I'm buying it digitally for the PlayStation.
I think we're at best getting a digital or getting a steelbook. That's like at best.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that.
I don't think there'll be I also get a lot of games that I love. I get the deluxe editions that come with the statues or whatever they are. I think if they were going to announce that it was going to have an edition, like even First Light, the new Bond game had a deluxe edition that came with like a golden gun replica and stuff like that. That stuff it would be a huge mistake if they are going to have something like a mask version, which they could always eventually do, because games do re-release like the Game of the Year edition with something like that. But I don't think it'll come with any kind of figurine or knife replica or anything like that. I think that would have been the time to announce it, would have been during this, but they didn't. So
All right, let's move on to the multiplayer. We're talking about the replay value of this game. One of the big selling features in this game, compared to, say, whether you're looking at Elphonic's past or Gun Media's past, is you got Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Predator game, Killer Clowns. Is this game features a heavy NPC component to it. Where you're not just your own character. Like, if you're not Michael, you're not just your own character trying to survive or escape, and you cannot kill Michael in this, like you can Jason in Friday the 13th if you do all that crazy long list of shit that you had to do in order to kill him. It lives up to the Halloween theme of you can't kill the boogeyman, which I think is good. But the NPC side of this gives you various other tasks that you need to complete during the map. Now, do you have to complete them? No, not necessarily, but if you want a better outcome to your map, you should complete them, and that those tasks, each time you play, won't just be the same tedious task every time. Like, say you go into, the third house on the street that might be open to go into. It doesn't mean every single time you go in there, Cinderella's going to be in the kitchen making dinner. She could be elsewhere, or there could be other things going on. So there is a variety to the online multiplayer portion of this, where it's like, hey, this is not the same thing every single time. I forget the fellow's name at Elphonic, but he basically said, hey, every single time you go in to a multiplayer map on this, It's almost like you're creating your own Halloween movie. Just with that, in terms of providing a different setting, different set of events, different outcomes, which I like. And it's a good thing they are doing that, because here's a piece of news that people might not like. It's, to my understanding, there will only be 3 or 4 maps online to begin with on this game. Does not mean there's not more coming. It sounds like 1 for sure is definitely coming. But I don't want to say that 100% because you just don't know with these things. But it does sound like there are 1 or 2 more maps to be revealed between now and the release of the game, because so far they've only released the 2. And one might wonder if that's enough. When the is it Ash versus Evil Dead? Is that what it's called? Do I have the title of that
That's the
movie?
show.
I've never seen a single
Yeah,
one.
but the Evil Dead game.
The Evil Dead game, sorry. So yeah, the Evil Dead game only had 2 maps when it came out. So this having 3 or 4 maps and a variety of different objectives and events on each of those maps, for me, is enough when you couple that with the story mode that is has a little bit of replay value to it. Now, the one map that sounds like it may not be available at launch, and I'll scroll back to it here if it'll allow me to do so, and we see it a little bit here at the beginning of the story trailer, and that's Smith Grove. And the reason for that is, apparently, again, strictly a rumor, the reason I was given is you would have a different group of characters and non-playable characters on this map than you would on the map spread across Haddonfield. You wouldn't expect to see the playable characters that you are playing as out or in Haddonfield locked away inside or outside of Smith Grove. It wouldn't make sense for them to be there, and there is a narrative component to the online multiplayer. That being said, it worries me a little bit because I do think Smith Grove, inside and outside, is the one map that can provide significant different variety in terms of appearance than what you're going to get in maps across Haddonfield. So I know that's a lot to take in there, fellas, but your take on the multiplayer only possibly being 3 or 4 maps, and if it's helpful that there's a lot of it that's NPC based, with a variety sprinkled in there, and if it would bother you that Smith Grove might be held off until future DLC. Start with you, Dustin.
Yeah, I think with the single player, 3 or 4 maps is going to be enough to and it also will. What's that?
Multiplayer.
Yeah, the 3, or you said there was going to be 3 or 4 maps, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so depending on the size of the maps, I don't think that's going to be a major issue. At least at first, if they're really detailed and there's a lot to do and they're fleshed out, then I think 3 or 4 maps is going to be fine. As long as there is some, hopefully, roadmap to, extending that. I get what they're saying. Like, it wouldn't make sense to have certain characters at Smith's Grove. Not that they couldn't just create different characters for that area. I know that's a lot more work, but I think it'll be okay. Again, really, it's going to depend on the size of each of the maps and what there is to do, how long the matches are. As long as they're, and it seems like I haven't seen as much about what their roadmaps are, but I would like to see them say, okay, we're going to add either additional maps or um, different characters, different versions of Michael, whether that's Michael throughout the years, different skins for him, or different abilities. Um, because if you're just doing the multiplayer and you have the same characters and you just bring in different maps, that could again drive some more engagement. But I think they have to mix it up a little bit as well further on after the game's release. But I'm not too concerned about 3 or 4 maps to begin with, because it seems like they're going to be pretty large.
Yeah, we're going to show off one of the maps here in a couple of minutes in terms of how big it is. Randy, how about you? Your thoughts on all that?
Considering I played Friday the 13th and there really wasn't a whole lot of map variety there, I'm not too worried about it. Sounds like these maps are going to be large anyway, and that's going to make it very different for a while until you finally get to explore the entire map. And if there's like 3 or 4 maps, then that's still a lot of ground to cover just to master an entire just to master all 4 or 3 or 4 that we get. So I think the fact that we're getting something that because think of it this way, the first few playthroughs, a lot of people are just gonna sit there and be like, wow, look at that. I remember that from the movie, and I remember that from the movie. Oh, look, they got this. Look at how perfect it is. Like, people are gonna be so wrapped up in exploring and finding the different locales and getting to see them for the first time in terms of in a video game, that it's not going to bother people that there's only a handful of maps. Now, as months go by and as people get more familiar with the game and they really start to get a full grasp of every single map and every in and out, okay, then you can start to be concerned, but that's going to take time. And by then you should have at least the first DLC out with another map. So I'm not too worried. I feel like there's going to be so much just to explore and to just kind of go ooh and ah over, because of just that nostalgia factor of saying, I saw this in the movie, look at how cool this looks in a video game, that it'll be fine. I think they'll be fine with just what they've got.
Quick thoughts on all that, Johnny?
I think there's a huge difference between static maps and non-static maps. This is a prime example of non-static maps, which makes all the difference in the world. Not having, I guess the locations will be static, but the people within them, that's the variety, that's the variance. Like you said, you can't count on person X being in house Y every time. Things are going to be different. So, where Friday the 13th had none of that, its variance was in, placements of items and things like that. And even then, they were still fairly limited in what you'd find where. It takes a lot of that out. Like, you could strategize around pretty quickly as soon as you saw which map you were on and where you started. And I think that's where the variety comes in. Having the AI neighborhoods and people in the communities and things like that, and trying to corral them and convince them and have those sort of conversations and things like that it's vastly different. I know I'm not in any way worried about Smith's Grove being different, because you're right. Like, just putting any sort of thought into it, you realize you're right. It can't play the same as the basic neighborhoods do, because you do require a different pool of NPCs, and that's different. Like, it's not just a map difference there, it's an entire different pool of NPCs, and it takes
and
time
playable
to
characters
make
for that matter.
Exactly. So, like, even without playable characters, even if the playable characters are the same, it's still, the variety is in the NPCs, because you can't have Sally Johnson from 23 Main Street suddenly working as an orderly in Smith Grove. It doesn't work. So you do need the variety of
I mean, you
NPCs more
could,
than
but it would be
anything else.
lazy.
Yeah, it would just be a skin change, and you're right, that is lazy, and that's not not what you want in something like this when you're trying to put forward quality. So taking the time to do it, like, you'll still see the map, so it's not like the assets aren't there, it's everything else. putting the time into an entire new pool of NPCs, you need to see the success, and then you'll get that. And so I'm not in any way concerned with that, because it's you're right. When you stop and put any ounce of thought into it, it makes perfect sense why it's not a launch map, because you can't have the same NPCs, and that's the difference.
Sorry, Gas Monster got me. Surprised it's taking this long. Let's take a moment now to just take a look at one of the maps. We talked about this map last week, I believe it was, the Haddonfield Town Center map. But let's take a moment to actually see the size of this map, because even I thought when they showed the size of this map, I was like, oh, you know what? This is considerably bigger than what I was expecting. And I think that's a good thing. So let's just let's have a look here. A look-sees. Just let me know when it's full screen, guys. I can't really see on my end. Full screen?
Yep.
Alrighty. I'm actually going to slow down the playback speed here so we don't miss anything. I won't go too insane with it, but let's have a look at this map. If it'll let me drop that. Now, I apologize. I got a couple of Tums in my mouth, so I'm going to talk as clearly as I can. I think, just my opinion, that map is way bigger than I thought we would get for any map in this game on multiplayer. Like, way bigger. Randy, we'll start with you.
Just looking at the map, looking at like the placement of lights and the lighting itself, and just I can sit here and think about so many ways of just having a field day with this map. I mean, it's the size is impressive. The locations are great. Uh, I love just the overall feel of like they really captured a really uh, unique perspective here in the sense of just feeling like you're just walking downtown. I love just the walk through everything. I love seeing the having the Silver Shamrock masks hanging there in the in the hardware store. I mean, just they did a great job. It's and I'm digging the details too, like just little things that you would normally see that they just like some games will leave be like, okay, here's the locale, but we're gonna leave the little details, little fine details out. Here, they're not doing that. They're not skimping on anything. And the fact that when you just go through this whole walkthrough essentially of the area, you can start to see how strategy is going to come into play for just about everything. And I'm loving it. I love the vibe of it. It's I wouldn't say I call it perfect, but it's just a great map. And I can't wait to explore it. I really can't wait to see just what every little nook and cranny in this map has to offer, other than just what little they've shown us.
Johnny, you and I played Friday the 13th together quite a bit over the years. And there's a couple of fair-sized maps in Friday the 13th. But judging what we've see here between the graveyard, the park, the alleyways, the theater, the downtown section, inside and outside of the stores, the garage, I don't know if we've seen anything this big in Friday the 13th. Your thoughts on the size? Are you at all surprised that this is one map?
I don't want to say I'm withholding full judgment, because until we actually see like the map itself, it's hard to gauge scale in this video. Like that's the thing that's hard. Like, is it's hard to judge scale because we don't know where the borders are. We don't know what's playable and what's unplayable. We see a lot of open space, which if everything that is shown in this video is entirely 100% playable area, then yeah, it is of a much larger scale than I would have expected. I'm expecting a lot of these streets are, cut off in ways like you can't access everything you can see in these videos. Like this shot here in particular is one that, like I feel like there's a very high probability that intersection is a cutoff. Like you can't play past that point. And until we get those sort of specifications, it's, it could go sort of either way in that regard. Like there's a lot like of the things we do see. I think the scale is there. I like that, of the individual sort of POIs. But it's all about how they're sort of played together, and the interconnectivity of them, as far as how much sort of what bleeds into what goes into where and how. So like I think there's untapped potential. There's a lot of it. And if everything we see is 100% playable area, then I think this map is huge, and I am definitely shocked by that. But if it's sort of, POIs are, I don't want to say clumped together, but if there's like an intricate alley system that plays one into the next sort of thing, it can definitely shrink down on that scale, in a playability fashion. So like, I think there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of hope here. But I think this map could go either way. Like, I do like what I see as far as playable areas go. Like, you assume that sort of everywhere that the camera itself pans through is a playable area. That's still, I don't want to say larger than I was expecting, but it's at least of the scale I was expecting for a city center map. And it's sort of the extras because we don't have those defined boundary markers and lines. Like we see a lot, but we don't know how much of it is playable and how much of it isn't playable. So, once
take it with a grain of salt, but knowing that at least one of the two guys from Slasher Radio has has played the game, and I'm assuming he's had an opportunity to play this, he claimed that everything you see in this trailer is playable. Now,
if that's
to be
true,
clear, to be
great.
clear, the storefronts here on the left, it does not look like, you know, the store behind the blue car here is playable, or even the next one's playable. Looks like the one up from that might be playable. That might even be the record store. It's hard to make out.
They're visual storefronts,
but-
not explorable
But
storefronts.
he more
Which makes
so
sense.
meant like, you know, there we go. Like the hardware store in the corner. That's the exact corner where we see Michael
Yeah.
turn in the station wagon, and you have Brackett and Loomis outside of it. Really good attention to detail, by the way, on that. Like it looks like it. That looks like someone's property. And then to the right, sorry, you have multiple properties in the background. To the right, you have the graveyard.
Yeah.
There's a lot here in this. In the meantime, Johnny, before we go to, or as we go to Dustin, could you try to find the name of the other map they revealed? Because we never pulled that up on screen either, but I'd love to compare it in contrast to this one. Dustin, your thoughts on the Haddonfield Town Center map?
Yeah, I think Johnny kind of covered a lot. Is what are, they go through the space showing you these areas. It's hard to tell where they are in relation to one another. And, being able to go into these areas, are all the buildings going to be able to be open where you can go into them? Probably not. There's going to be select buildings.
No, I believe it's a few of them. Like, I don't
Right.
think you can go into the theater.
Another thing is going to be verticality. I'm hoping that there's like stairs, stuff that leads up. You have to give people enough room to explore to get into the gamified part of it. So it's going to be, it's hard to tell from this where it's like, okay, you can see some of the spaces, and I love the attention to detail, the lighting, as Randy pointed out. It's just going to be seeing how it's laid out. Like, this could look massive, but then if you scaled it down a little bit, like if you saw that these 2 or 3 areas were right next to each other, that could, make the space smaller. It looks like there is quite a bit of area to explore. So it's one of those things you have to get into it to really see. But I think
Even looking at this shot here, we're in like the back of somewhere, right?
yeah,
and if
and then
you-
like if you went forward,
Does this show
you'd
my
see
mouse
some of the main
moving on
street.
screen?
It does.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, so this right here is one of the buildings on the main street.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you consider how far this is from there, and we know there's multiple streets, and we know there's the graveyard on top of it, like, it's still a fair size map. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's going to be flooded with NPCs, but in terms of finding human characters, if you're Michael, like, it's not going to be the easiest of tasks.
No, and what I like is it's varied. There's a lot of different terrain types. It's not just all buildings or street. There's like these little back alley areas with like, sheds and garages. So there's a lot of different variety in what you're seeing. It's not just like with Friday the 13th where it's kind of out in the woods and then you have a few cabins that are kind of cookie cutter. There's a lot of variety there. And again, even a map, it seems like this is pretty sizable. There's going to be a lot to have to learn and to explore. So, I think from a replayability standpoint, it's going to be good because, you're going to explore all these different areas and you'll find different pathways. So yeah, I mean, if this is just one of there's potentially 3 more, if they're on the same scale as this seems to be, then I think there's going to be, again, the $40 game, right? You have to set some expectations of, what you're getting in the content and the size of the game and the replayability based on price. That's, just kind of unfortunately where we are now with games, right? AAA games, you have a 10-hour game that's $70. It seems like what they're giving us for our dollar value is pretty substantial. Again, I think what I do like is the attention to detail, the lighting, and I just hope that there's lots of little nooks and crannies to kind of get in there and explore, and little hidden stuff that you can find. But I'm not at all concerned, just seeing this scale. If we have 3 other maps that are this size, then I don't think that'll be a major issue at all.
Now, as we go to the next video, I'm assuming Johnny has the title for us by now. I don't. Oh, whoops. I don't remember. I don't remember much of the other map that they
Haddonfield Heights.
showed up. Haddonfield Heights. So I believe this is where the Myers house is, if I'm correct. Which I mean will be obviously a popular thing for a lot of people anyway. Is there a walkthrough of that like this one?
There's just the reveal one that was at the very top.
Oh. So I'll slow this down a bit. I know we talked about this when it came out, but I know we didn't have the ability at that time to play it. That's the alleyway from Halloween Kills and Halloween 2.
Yeah, because it was just a teaser when we first started talking about it.
Turn your damn lights off. Save the electric bill.
This is the 70s. That was cheap.
Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, they don't specifically show the Myers house
I think we only saw that in pictures in that video.
in this, but I know my Halloween geography and I know how they modeled this. Justin, correct me if I'm wrong here. This, I went too far back. This house right here to the left, right here, I believe, is to the right of the Myers house.
Yeah, because that's
But-
Lampkin Lane for sure.
And like the back alleyway they start us off with, this right here is the one we see
In
Michael
Halloween
Myers
Kills.
walk up. Yeah. So the only thing I'm wondering here is kind of to Johnny's point in the last map is, does Haddonfield Heights cut off right here essentially, and then we pick up another map on the other side? It's very weird to do a map fly through and not show the Myers house if the Myers house is in fact in this map. But either way, I would say even with everything we see here, this map, it's not super small, but I don't think this map shows the scale of the map we just looked at.
No, unless it's going to be smaller in size, but then almost all the buildings or houses you can go into. That might be the trade-off there for this, unless I can't tell if it looks like there's a fence in the background. Again, they use mist, right? It could be a smaller map, but then you have more accessibility into more of the houses. So it might be a smaller map, but there's still a lot to explore within it. But
I think, at least to a certain degree, this is more a statement of time than anything else. This video did come out December 4th of last year. So
That long ago, huh?
yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot earlier in the gaming cycle where you see a lot less, and I don't think the lack of a Myers house necessarily means anything as far as that goes, because I think that is something that you want to save for almost its own reveal, sort of thing. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if we either don't see it at all, or it's one of the last videos that we see. And then it's the Myers house, and it's part of the story. So I'm not worried about it because, like I said, this video is much earlier in the production cycle. So
I can see them revealing the Michael Myers house, in a final trailer before releases. So
yeah,
I feel like this is probably more like proof of concept and like kind of what they were working on, kind of giving you an idea of the aesthetic and exactly kind of what you're going to be working with. For all we know, with this particular map, they may have expanded upon it a little bit, considering how long ago this trailer came out. I don't think it shows the finished product. So
yeah, I think
but
that's
at least
what the
gives
use
us
of fog is.
but I mean, at least it gives us an idea of what we're looking forward to. I mean, the shadows and the lighting and just the attention to detail they're trying to show us. I think that in and of itself has been great with both maps they've shown off so far.
Sorry, I have two kittens playing in front of me, and they're kind of combined to one room, and I think one might have just gotten out. Not out of the house, but out of the room they're supposed to be in. I've been attacked all show long by kittens. I'm glad I'm not on camera. Anyway, we got a lot of other stuff to get to in a very short amount of time, about 20 minutes. They showed Star Wars Zero Company on the weekend. What kind of game would you describe that as, Johnny? Briefly here.
It is a.
Like, what genre does it fit under?
I'm trying to think of the exact phrasing of
It's
what
like
it
turn-based
is.
strategy.
Yeah, turn-based tactical shooter. I think
Like
is
XCOM.
It's
It's
that's
XCOM.
exactly what it is.
That's literally what it is.
It's
XCOM.
Star Wars meets XCOM. He even
If
said
you
it in
played-
the trailer.
If you played Marvel Midnight Suns, I think that's probably exactly what you're getting here. I love that game. I love the XCOM style of game. I'm excited for this one. I am not paying a dime for it, so I will wait for it to hit EA, hit the EA vault, and then I'll play it. Unless it goes like on a very steep sale around Christmas time. But yeah, no, I love those types of games. I enjoy them. They're fun. But
I
I'm
think
not paying a
Bespin
dime
Bulletin
for it.
had. I think Bespin Bulletin had something about this game not being a full price game, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe I imagine that.
Even better on the discount front then.
I mean,
Respawn's doing it, so it shouldn't be too bad.
It looks cool, but it's not like my cup of tea. I wouldn't pay full price for it, but if I can get it cheap, or even better, get it free at some point, then I'll give it a shot.
It will be
but-
free eventually because it's still an EA game.
Or
So.
PS Plus will be like, here's your free game of the month, and there it is. So
What do you think of it, Randy?
I played XCOM before, so it was really cool looking. I like the fact that looks like it's set during the Clone Wars. During the trailer, having the reveal of Anakin at the end was really neat. I'll be curious about the story, other than just putting together a ragtag group to go through battles. But ultimately, I'm going to kind of wait and kind of see where reviews fall, word of mouth, like just kind of, I want to get a feel of like, is it truly going to be on par with, say, like XCOM, or is it going to be something of something to a lesser extent with some of the other games that have tried this type of style but just don't do a really good job of it. Obviously, XCOM is a standard right now. That series has been a lot of fun. But yeah, with this, as much as I love Star Wars, I want to kind of wait and see. I'm really more excited for the third Jedi game that's a long ways off, and I'm really curious to see what happens with Eclipse and the KOTOR remake.
Dustin, did you have any thoughts on this? Did you see anything on it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the trailer, thought it looked pretty good. I played a little bit of the XCOM games, my most recent experience with it is with the Mario and Rabbids game, where it was kind of turn-based, and yeah, it looks good. I'll check it out for sure. But yeah, like Randy, I'm more excited for Jedi Survivor, the third game, and excited that they said that, they pretty much said Cal Kestis is going to be a character we're going to be focusing on for some time. So more interested in that. And we'll talk about the Eclipse stuff, but no, it looked good. It looks like it's serviceable, and we'll see when it gets closer to release if I'll actually be picking it up or not.
Speaking of Star Wars Eclipse, good news, bad news on that front. Good news is the game is apparently like 80% finished. So that's encouraging. Now let me ask you, Johnny, you specifically, we've done a lot of Star Wars content together. Do you remember what happened with Star Wars 1313?
Hell happened.
Essentially, yeah. That's a good way of wording it.
I mean, they scrapped at it, but complete, right?
Not quite complete, but damn close. Damn close to a finished product. And here's where we run into some problems, because you would think, oh man, the game's 80% complete. Well, we're going to get this thing. Well, they are, in terms of the money they had access to, they are apparently out. And what they were hoping to finish the game with, this is Quantic Dream, they were hoping to finish it from profits from another game that was supposed to come out. I do not remember the title of it, but it just got canceled. So
Yeah, it was a multiplayer game that they were going to use the funds for that to help fuel the rest of this game, which reports had been that the game was making very slow progress. So that 20% that was left could still be quite some time off. But they were waiting on that money infusion for that multiplayer game. And with that being canceled, that's not good.
Yeah, it sounds like the game's been about 75% done for quite some time. And the fact that they're only now at 80, and it's not like all development has stalled. They're continuing to work, but with far less people involved and not much going on. And I'm going to be honest here, fellas. They might need a lifeline from Lucasfilm or Disney to get this thing out. And or because Quantic Dream is for sale, whoever purchases them comes in and provides a little extra cash flow. But as it currently stands, given what happened with Star Wars 1313, and hell, even the original Battlefront 3, I'm going to say if they don't get an influx of cash, they're going to cancel it regardless of being 80% done, which is just fucking crazy when you think about it.
It's definitely disappointing. Looks like the name of the game was Spellcasters Chronicles. It was canceled 3 months after early access release. It was supposed to be a live service game. And that's what's really a bummer is Quantic Dream is known for their stories. They tell amazing stories in their games, and to lose out on a potentially a great Star Wars story because of this, I hope that they find a way of getting it finished and getting it put out there, but God bless. I was really looking forward to it just for the sheer fact that the story itself probably was going to be absolutely amazing. Some of the best stuff we probably would seen in a while, but I mean, I'm not talking about like Beyond Andor, but I mean like at least video game wise. I guess we'll just have to hope and pray that something happens and they get to finish this game, because we honestly, I feel like we just don't have enough lately. We just don't have enough Star Wars games. We need more. It's a shame that Outlaws was bad when it launched, but it sounds like everything's great now. But that's too little, too late. We need something good right off the rip, and I kind of was hoping it was going to be Eclipse.
Well, the thing with Eclipse is it would have tremendous replay value, right? You know, it's essentially Heavy Rain of Star Wars, or Star Wars of Heavy Rain, however you want to say it. But you know, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But it sounds like they're going to need a lifeline of some sort, which is, you know, it's okay if they get it, but it's not okay if they don't. Johnny, some quick thoughts on this one. This is the last main topic. We'll have one short topic, but we're going to move the A New Hope re-release to next week.
I'm not surprised at this point. This game was announced in 2021. We've hardly seen anything since then. This is becoming the Skull and Bones of the Star Wars franchise. You know, I think by the time it actually comes out, even if it does come out, it's going to be not good compared to what we were promised. So I have moved on in my Star Wars fandom to other things and other games. And this one is an afterthought to the point when you had it in the notes, I had to Google it to be like, which one was that again? Because it's just purged from my memory. Like, I don't think of it at all. I've moved on to the New Old Republic game. That's it. That's where my excitement lies in Star Wars gaming. So this one is just, it's an afterthought. I would be more shocked to see this thing come out than not at this point. Genuinely. I have no hope.
Well, I mean, like a Star Wars game by Quantic Dream is something Star Wars fans have craved for many, many years. It's just unfortunate to hear that. I'd rather hear that they're 50% done and stuck, but to hear that they're 80% done and stuck sucks. But even 80% done and stuck is still millions among millions among millions among millions of dollars, is, you know, hundreds of thousands of man hours.
I would rather 80% and stuck, because that's something money can fix. You know, if EA or Lucas or Disney or any of those people want to put in money, you can solve that and fix that problem. And for 80 to 100 is a lot closer than even from 50 to 80.
Yeah, well, they're about to be on the hook $100 million for a movie they just put out. So I don't know how willing they're going to be to do that, but we'll see. Hopefully. And, you know, they might be just waiting for whoever's going to purchase Quantic Dream to be like, okay, no, we'll come in and finish it. Because right now, this is the next big game they have in the pipeline. One would believe if someone's going to purchase Quantic Dream, they're going to want to...
The only game they have in the pipeline that I'm aware of.
Yeah, well, then anything else would be in, like, conceptual stages. So, like, if you're going to purchase it, my guess is you're purchasing it with the thought of, okay, well, we're going to pay for the rest of this game. The problem is, until that happens, the production is going to continue to move at a snail's pace. You know, I want the game because I want a Star Wars game where, you know, we were just kind of talking about it with the Halloween, but this is a whole other level, like where you're the director crafting your own Star Wars story. I think it would be exceptional. But like you, I don't have much confidence in seeing it unless a lifeline comes, whether that be through a new owner or through Disney, essentially, and we'll have to wait and see if that comes to pass. Dustin, did you get to add anything in on that? I can't remember.
I'll just add that, like, yeah, the fact that their game was canceled, the multiplayer game, someone would have to come in and buy them, and also realize what kind of resources they would have to throw into it to finish it, and really do their due diligence and say, okay, like, what is it going to cost, and how long is it going to take to get that other 20% out, and also is what they have viable. Like, you know, you're going to spend all this money and then it's not a good product potentially. They wouldn't, there's nothing to say that it wasn't, you know, what they have isn't good or great. But it's just another in the long line of, you know, Star Wars can be the death of, you know, movies, shows, games, one that I was hoping for a long time. I know Amy Hennig, who's one of the creators of Uncharted, is working on a single player.
Feel like we're doing Star Wars Wastelands again. Johnny, the Visceral Project. Remember that
Yes.
one?
Jesus Christ.
She's doing another one.
It's it's just one of the long line of what could have been, what should have been, not coming out. And I think that the games we are getting hopefully are going to be better. Jedi Survivor, I'm excited for the third game in that series, but yeah, I'm not holding my breath for this could be something that surprises us and they say, okay, we can get it out, or it's going to be something that'll just be in the basement, and there'll be videos of it leaked in 20 years or 10 years of like a almost completed game that looks awesome that they just couldn't figure it out.
All
Look,
right,
if
quick.
Dead Island 2
go
can come
ahead.
out, this will come out. I'm just going to hold out that hope.
Let's not, because Dead Island 2 should not have come out.
Yeah, it's
I love that
Um,
game.
2?
Yeah, I'd beat the hell out of that game.
it was fun to mess around, but yeah, after that wait time, it was just like one of those things like I gotta check this out because it's like it was not coming out. Now it's just here. All right.
All right, quickly around the table here. 2 minutes or less per person. Let's talk about any games that you might have seen at the Future Games Now thing or the Xbox Showcase. There was 2 that stood out to me. Obviously, Gears of War E-Day. Johnny and I have talked about for 20 years now what E-Day would be like. And I thought it was really cool to see all the characters in their non-combat fighting armor, feeling like it was in a lived-in place. I loved the new cover style. I love the ability to jump, which is something we should have had many years ago in Gears games. Probably would have changed the outcome of many maps for us. I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to playing through the story and playing through the multiplayer on that one. And then the other one, which I didn't even know was this game until the title card came up, was the new Fable game. I was sitting beside Jade watching. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. Like, I wonder what this is. And then at the very end, it pops up as Fable. I'm like, oh, I can't say I like Fable 2 or 3. I don't know if any others came out after 2 or 3, but that original Fable game, I remember going to Blockbuster to rent that. And, I fucking loved that game. So I got some hopes for that one too. Johnny, what about you?
I mean, obviously the ones you mentioned. But for me, the one that stood out the most was Wolverine. It's something I want. I love those style of superhero games. I think they did an amazing job with all of the Spider-Man series. So yeah, Wolverine is the one that made me the most excited coming out of all that. Like, I mean, without saying any of the others, like, just that's the one that yeah, it got me excited.
Randy?
So for me, obviously, Wolverine. I love how they're just gonna let you go at it. That give it the old comic book style, just hack and slash. I mean, not hack and slash, but you know what I mean. Just absolutely blood, gore, guts. Just absolutely doing what Wolverine loves to do. So that definitely caught my attention. The God of War Laufey really caught my attention. I think it looks really good. I love the God of War series anyway, so it's good. That should be a lot of fun. But there's also games that just were announced that weren't at these shows that have me pretty excited. Just to see the Halo remake, that's going to be a lot of fun. I saw the trailer earlier today. It looks really good. And I know you guys probably aren't into this or whatnot, but well, maybe Johnny. But Grounded 2 finally got announced for PlayStation, so I'm excited for that. I know it's already been out on Xbox and
I played that game like a year ago.
But I was saying, I know it's already been out for those, but for me to be able to finally get my hands on it and play it, I'm really excited for that. So Yeah, it's shaping up to be a really good, like 3 or 4 months. I mean, I'm pretty excited for this.
What about you, Dustin? Finish us off, man.
I think the ones the Gears of War look great. God of War Lefay, that there was a whole shitstorm after that game was announced. That's of course people are just going nuts, like typical. But like Sony Santa Monica has delivered time and time again with God of War 2018 and Ragnarok that I'm all for their world building, their lore exploration, and taking a character like Kratos. Everyone's like Kratos, Kratos, Kratos. It's like they're still gonna tell stories of Kratos. We can do other things. The fact that they took the God of War franchise and were able to, turn it on its head and create the 2018 version and Ragnarok, I'm all for it. Like, give them creative freedom to do whatever they want to do. Super excited for that. Also, there's that game for PlayStation called Ill that looked like a kind of a mix
that
between,
looked awesome.
yeah, like Resident Evil and The Thing. Speaking of Resident Evil, the other game shout out is Resident Evil Veronica, the remake of
Code
Veronica,
Mm-hmm.
which
I
I'm
never played
excited
Code
for.
Veronica.
Oh, I loved it when I was younger, and so I was hoping that this was going to be the next one, and there was rumors, and sure enough, it was.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Code Veronica was a kind of like a prequel to the first game, but also during the first game, but different events. Is
Yes,
right? Wrong?
it's the events of Claire Redfield. It's like it served as a prequel and set during the events of Raccoons, the Resident Evil 1. So, originally played it on GameCube. So excited to get back into that because most of their remakes have been really pretty solid. 3 was kind of hit or miss for me, but they've done such a great job.
2 and 4 were stellar.
Yeah, 2, 4, and even with their more recent releases with Village and what was the other Resident Evil that just came out?
Requiem.
Requiem was outstanding. So more of that, please. But yeah, that's what I'm excited for.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us tonight. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button. Helps us out a ton. Leave a comment. If you're watching after the fact, our numbers have been a lot better the last few weeks here. And we owe that to each and every one of you. Next week, we'll have a House of the Dragon Season 3 preview. Maybe we will get a little more in-depth into some games that we're looking forward to. We also have a few other things that we'll be doing as well. Dustin, where can everybody find you, man?
Well, Johnny's here tonight, so I won't steal the catchphrase, but hopefully sleeping and keeping my sanity with a toddler and an infant. So hopefully I'll be joining you all a little bit more regularly as we continue on and watching some House of the Dragon so that we can, watching season 1 and 2 so I can be ready for season 3.
Yeah, well, you got to get through 18 episodes in, what's the date today? The 9th?
8th.
8th? Is it really the 8th? I thought it was the 9th. It's the 8th. Oh, okay, so you got 13 days to do 18 episodes, man. You're going to have to get cracking.
You got this.
That's only 1 point something episodes per day. You got it.
Randy, where can everybody find you at, bud?
For right now, it's just over on X at Giggity Giles. And later this year, I will be back doing Sports Brew stuff with the NFL season get right around the corner, which is crazy to me. So yeah, that's going to be
right around
the
corner. It's the beginning of June.
Dude, you realize how quickly this is going to go? We're going to blink and be like, holy shit, it's September. Because that's what's been happening so far this year. I blinked and it's
when you're
June.
a Titans fan, it never ends soon enough.
Oh, damn.
Can't be any worse than being a Leafs fan.
Or a Mets fan at this point.
Yeah, you guys got it rough too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Johnny, what about you, bud? Where can everybody find you at?
Oh, you can find me here, there, and everywhere. As you said, I'm not going to be around here quite as much going through the House of the Dragon stretch, but you'll see my lovely initials, since the camera never works around here, pop up every now and again here on on a Monday night, or maybe not Monday night, or you can catch me over on Twitch. I don't know when, but hopefully sometime in the near future I'll be doing more stuff over there. So yeah, here, there, and everywhere.
Don't forget to check us out on X. I believe it's at Fandom Empire _ Fandom Empire. What? I don't know. Something like that. Punch in Fandom Empire on X. You'll find
Underscore.
us.
It's an underscore. There was a push notification for a tweet that just happens to be on my phone showing me exactly that.
And we're looking at doing more Patreon content very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that too. But for Randy, Dustin, and Johnny, I'm Sean, and we will see you next